And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Deception Dice is made by the company that made Tumbling Dice, which is just an absolutely fantastic game. And so Deception Dice, I read that it was very similar to Liar's Dice, and I like Liar's Dice a lot. Liar's Dice, you may have seen it before in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. They were playing a version of it on the pirate ship, but it's been out for a while. It's in many different languages. Richard Borg made a good version of it with dice. So this is yet another version, but this adds some big chunky dice that add a bit of randomness and chaos to the game. Does that make it better or worse? Let's look. First thing we need to do is talk about what a Dunder Mifflin head Tom Vasel is, because when he got this game, he looked at the sheet that said how to put all the stickers on. There's lots of stickers on in this game, and for some reason got so excited about those stickers when it said put a sticker in each cup that he did. He put a sticker in the cup when actually it should go here on the outside, but that sticker shows what color you are, and I guess it would have made a lot more sense to put there. And not only that, but there was a sticker that's a rubber mat that goes inside, and for some reason I thought it went on the bottom. So let's not hold that against this company. That's just dumbness on Tom Vasel's part. Now, you can see here that there's 8 different colored dice, and each player is going to get a certain amount of these dice, which is 5 to start the game with, and they'll also take their cup, and they'll take the dice in their cup. So each player is going to do that. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of a 3-player game here between yellow, pink, and blue, and each player is going to roll their dice and look at their dice secretly. So Pink looks at his dice here, and he notices that he has 2 1s, 2 3s, and a 2. Doesn't show anybody. Yellow sees that he has a 2, 2 3s, a 4, and a 6. And Blue has 2 4s, a 2, and 2 6s. So now Blue gets to go first, and Blue is going to guess how many there is of any number of dice. But he has to remember that their 1s are wild. So Blue looks at his dice. He has no wild dice. So he says, you know what? I think there's 4 6s. He's not actually bluffing at all. He knows he has 2 6s, and he figures that there's probably 2 more between that. Over here, it's Pink's turn, and Pink says, okay, well, I have 2 6s. Remember, the 1s are wild. So there's probably 2 other 6s. And so, well, let's raise it to 5 6s. Now here in the middle, he has 1 6, and he says, well, they both seem pretty confident in their 6s. But you know what? I have 2 3s, so I'm going to go with that. And he says, I have 6 3s. You can raise either the number of dice, which he just did. He couldn't have said 5 3s because we had already said 5 6s. Or, in this case, he says 6 3s, and Blue says, all right, fine, I'll pretend I have a lot of 3s. He says 7 3s. Okay? He could have said 6 4s or 6 5s, but he went to 7 3s. Over here, Pink's like, whoa, there is 7 3s. That's a lot. So he goes up to 8 3s. Yellow's like, what? Come on, there can't be that many 3s. But all right, I'll stay with this game. 9 3s. Blue's sweating a little bit, but he says, all right, you know what? 9 3s is a lot for both of them to have. I'm going to call it. So he calls it, in which case we all reveal how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. There was not 9 3s. So Yellow is the one that's out, since he's the one who said 9 3s, and he loses a die. Now, before we do the next round, in which case Yellow's going to have only 4 dice, Yellow gets to roll these giant dice into the thing, which they will bounce out if you're dumb enough to... Wow, okay, that's why you put the mat in the right way, folks. But we roll the dice here. Now, we look at what the symbols on the dice are. First of all, we see the red 2 dots. That means this turn, whoever loses is going to lose 2 dice instead of 1. If they had rolled a 1, there'd just be 1 dice. This R here means that this time direction of play is going to be reversed. But there's a few other symbols that could show up. You could get this NL here. That means no one can look at their dice. You do the whole thing with that. You roll your dice, but you don't look at them. This star here means that there's an extra wild. So whoever makes the call has an extra wild. This one means that 1s are not wild this turn. And then finally this DD means, hey, if one of your dice are dead, you get it back as you are the roller. This one here means you lose one of your dice. And so you're going to roll both of those together, and then you play through another round. And this will continue till the game is almost over, and there's only 2 people left. When there's only 2 people left, and they each only have 1 die, instead of guessing how many dice there are in total, what they're going to do is they're going to bid how many pips they think there are on a dice. And eventually one person will be out, and the other person is declared the victor. Alright, now with the production of the game, I was a little unhappy with the box. It's a one of those lower quality boxes. The cups are a little flimsy, and the stickers are in the wrong... Okay, that's my fault. But I mean, everything's a little flimsy. Now these dice are nice. The dice for the players themselves, okay, we're the Dice Tower, and I see dice come through here all the time. These are low quality dice. Yeah, it's neat that they're different colors, but they're actually, the white dice aren't as nice as the purple dice. With the pink dice, some of the dice are better quality than the rest of them, but generally they're not that good of dice. That's not that big of a deal, because you're just rolling dice and guessing. So let's talk about the game itself. Okay, and by the way, I do like having this bin to roll those big dice in. That's neat. And this game does support up to 8 players, which not all Liar's, in fact, very few Liar's dice do go up to. The game itself, Liar's Dice, you can just get that and play that version of the game with this, and you'll have no problem at all. The problems that I've run into are this. One is, I like the original Liar's Dice because you could bet on a certain number of wilds. Like, you could bet 4 wilds, which was a more difficult thing, and so that was worth more than, let's say, 8 sixes. 4 wilds, but they had a little track going around the board, and it just made it easier to bid, and it also made the game easier to teach to new people. Also, when your dice died, you put them in a pile and you could see them. This has them on the edge of the board, which actually looks really cool. Not as quick to see how many dice are left over all. And then the big thing though are these dice right here. These don't really add anything to the game, and in fact detract from the game. Now, I don't mind this one, the red one, as much that it says you're going to lose 1 or 2 dice if you're called out this game. That's a good idea, okay? I don't like this, you lose a die when you roll it. And you're like, whoa, you can gain 1 die. Or if you roll both of them together, everyone loses a die. That's just randomness. You just threw in randomness for the sake of randomness. I don't like that. The no wilds, that's an interesting variation. This one, though, that gives everybody an extra wild, that doesn't even make any sense. Everyone just ups their bid by 1. It does absolutely nothing to the round. The no looking sounds cool. You're like, oh, that's a cool thing. No, it's not. The bluffing's completely gone because no one has a clue what's under their cup. You know, I don't know. I wasn't impressed with this aspect of the game. It's still, I mean, I still see some people enjoying it, and I still love that idea of sitting there and just lying straight to someone's face. Oh, six sixes, and you have no sixes, and you're hoping that they's like, oh, and they'll up the bid. You're hoping. And it's not a terrible production. The game looks nice, and there's some. I can see this being a good gift for people. So I'm not going to tell you not to buy this version of the game. It's fun, and it goes up to 8 players, which is a nice plus. Yeah, there's elimination in this game, but the game's so fast it doesn't matter. And those final moments can be really tense and fun and funny. I just don't think the big dice add anything, and I don't see that this is much better than any other version, except that it has that cool little rink to roll the dice in, and it can go up to 8 players. So if I was going to keep this and play with it, I would stop using the big dice completely, just play with 8 players and play the original rules. And you can do that, so why not get it?
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.